Welcome to our interview with the CEO of Medcan, Micael. This video has been a long time coming, so I apologise for the delays as I've had a cheeky brain operation that delayed things somewhat. It's been a while since we released something like this, so I wanted to get this out there and introduce ourselves to those of you who are new. We produced this interview because we wanted to create a series that helps demystify the UK medical cannabis industry by combining our knowledge of working in this space with supply chain hurdles, compliance and legalities, as well as being a patient myself, seeing a lot of the issues from the patient's perspective. So with this interview, I hope that it helps shed light on what's involved in growing and importing medical cannabis to the UK's medical marketplace. So who are we? We're Infinity CBD. First launched in 2019 at the Hemp and CBD Expo in the NEC, we have since gone on to produce a full line of FSA validated products in our own labs here in Pembrokeshire, ranging from day-to-day supplements to more involved wellness and pampering orientated products. We also provide educational talks and one-on-one training for those wanting to work in the CBD and medical cannabis space, hoping to help expand the UK's medical cannabis industry from the roots up. So without further delay, I want to jump into this interview with you. This was shot toward the end of last year as we finally had a slot available that lined up. So we shot down to London for the day to meet Micael and ask him some questions. Next one would be, I would like to see a limit on time between curing and packing and the flower being available to buy. A year since harvest is way too long in my books. Though not question, your thoughts on this would be insightful.
Yeah, so just to give insight into the process. So we harvest our flower, it cures or dries for 2 weeks, usually 40 days, and sort of in a specific room that's been set aside for drying. So we call it the drying room.
Makes sense.
So it sits in the drying room for 2 weeks until it reaches the level of moisture that we need it to reach. Then it gets trimmed up. It usually takes about, depending on the batch, between 7 to 10 days of trimming, and that's hand trimming only by individuals, obviously. So it's 7 to 10 days of trimming. Then it gets put into the buckets to cure, and then it sort of, once the trimming's finished, it gets sent for testing. So you're already, let's say, 3 weeks post-harvest at this point in time.
Okay.
All done, obviously, in a temperature-controlled environment, temperature-controlled facility, light-controlled facility, humidity-controlled facility. So it's sort of the perfect conditions for the flower to be.
Yeah.
So what are we, 3 weeks? Then you've sent it for testing. Testing usually, depending on the types of tests, the microbial tests take a lot longer because they have to plate it and make sure that no coliforms are forming.
Yeah,
that takes longer than, say, the cannabinoid. Yeah. Sometimes you can turn that around in 2 to 3 days. But let's say 2 weeks for testing. Mm-hmm. So you're now about a month and a half out from harvest. You could probably then just justify an export because you've got your COA, it's passed your QC, you've cleared the batch, it's been you've filled in your conformity, and you're happy to go. Yeah. That's probably the quickest turnaround time that you could possibly get. But then you've got an import permit that you need to get, you've got an export permit that you need to get. You can only get the one once you've got the other, depending on the different jurisdictions.
So you have to do this every batch?
Yeah, every batch.
What?
Yeah, every batch. There's no blanket import-export. Every time a product leaves South Africa, for us, it's an import permit, it's an export permit, it's a batch clearance, it's a certificate of analysis, every single batch.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
the COAs and stuff makes sense. I thought it would be more of a process that was set up for you at that point.
No. There's no blanket allowance. Also, in terms of, I think there's some sorts of, in terms of the UN and the proceeds of drugs and making sure that drugs cross borders, I think cannabis is still considered a drug in that sense, globally. And so there is sort of, my understanding is there is communication between the different authorities around the world with the UN in terms of, here's how much cannabis is moving from this place to this place, to this country, to this country. So there's all those kinds of things. But so what did I say? We were about 5-6 weeks. We haven't done anything. We've just harvested the flower, trimmed it, sitting, curing, ready to go. Yeah. But there's nothing. And so possibly the quickest turnaround time is maybe, I'd say, a month and a half, 2 months, because now you're waiting for the import, the export. I know for us, export permits usually take about a month. Okay. And in order to apply for that export permit, you need the import permit from the importing country. In order to do that, you need to have cleared the batch. So the patient needs to appreciate that there's certain things that you just can't do until you have the previous sort of step complete. Yeah. And so you should. A year is a long time, but we try to get our product into patients' hands as quickly as possible. Obviously, it also depends on how many patients are being prescribed your product, how much stock there is, how much from that batch, how quickly it's been going, and so all of these things are factors.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, I had no idea. I mean, I knew the COAs and everything would have to be in place for QA/QC, but so when it clears QC on UK side, that's packaged though, right? That's split into the.
Yeah, to an extent. It's also a case of, okay, well, how much do we have from the previous batch? How many patients do we foresee in the next few weeks? When do we want to package this? All this kind of stuff.
Interesting.
But yeah, all of these are steps in the process that when you hear the patient say, oh, why is it taking so long? This is the reason why it's taking so long.
And to be honest, I think out of everyone, you sound by far going to be the fastest on that side of things. I think this mainly comes from patients who have perhaps had a batch arrive with 20 days left until the expiry, and they're just like, why? And then, but that's certainly not something I've ever experienced.
Yeah, but oftentimes the 20 days will not have been, it's not been imported with 20 days to go.
Well, this is what I mean, is that they're obviously on a strain that's been in much larger stock level, it's been there for a while, perhaps. So, or passed around, so whereas that is, as well as more, it's definitely not the case with you guys.